Well, Cate Frenzy has returned. But we're kind of in a new set now. How do you like it? We may be in a new set, but that doesn't mean that the pile is gone. Unfortunately, the pile has gotten bigger. What am I gonna do? Alright, I know, it's been a while. I've been busy. I have a new figure today, and it's from Onmyoji, so let's get this package open. Let's get to the unboxing. Honestly, it takes a long time to make these videos, so I only try to make them when I can. So, it's going to be Amiko again. It's always Amiko. Ooh. Today's figure is Aoandon from Onmyoji. It comes with this awesome little slip, and there's a big button inside too. Wow! So pretty! So, in relation to Higanbana, this week's figure is also from Onmyoji. We have this nice classic black box with a picture of Aoandon on front. And then we have this writing for Onmyoji. On the side, we have pictures of her figure. Very cute, kind of reminiscent of Good Smile Company's boxes. On this side, we have pictures of her in her stand. On the top, we have her logo. And on the back, we actually have the instructions, which is kind of nice actually, having it on the back instead of on a piece of paper. This stand actually does light up. It's USB powered to light up, which is awesome. None of those pesky AA, AAA batteries. The bottom is basically non-existent. There's nothing on the bottom. Personally, I like it more when there's like artwork on the side rather than like just pictures of the figure, but this is more comprehensive and like more straight to the point. But I prefer like artwork on them, but this is just fine too. So yeah, 8 out of 10 for the box. Now let's move on to the packaging. We have just a sticker up top. Oh, ew, what the? She's backwards. That's weird. Just a warning sheet. That's interesting. She was placed in backwards. Okay, so she's in a clamshell box. 4 buttons on each side. And she's covered in plastic. No tape, just buttons. 1 layer. So there's a flat layer of her just sitting on the inside. That's kind of cool. Carefully taking her out. She is also covered in plastic as well. Oh no, there's damages. Oh no, this part is damaged. Oh, can I fix that? Can I hide that? Then we have her stand, which is in this bag too. And her LED light. It's basically a ring light, that's what this is. The cord as well, right? That's also covered in plastic as well. If it's damaged, that means it was not secure. So there's a stick also in here. Thankfully, this is not damaged. Aoandon actually means, well, it translates to like directly blue lantern. It actually refers to Hayaku Monogatari Kaiden Kai, which is like the 100 candle horror story game that they have in Japan, where you're in a room full of candles. Each time you tell a horror story, you take one out until it's eventually pitch black. Once you have extinguished all candles, she will appear as a spirit. Kind of like the Japanese version of Blue Mary. Did I say Blue Mary? I'm sorry, I have Blue Mary on the mind. It comes out as Bloody Mary, not Blue Mary.
That's right!
There's a lot of different Marys, isn't there? Honestly, I'm not too upset about the bow because it's a simple fix. I don't think I'll go for the hassle of contacting Onmyoji, but you can contact them in case something like this happens. Maybe more like a 7 out of 10. It wasn't super protected and obviously it broke, so that's a bad issue with this. So 7 out of 10 for packaging. Let's see here. So this is supposed to go behind here like that, I believe. Let me see. According to the box. And remove the sticker. Mr. Broken Piece, where are you? There it is. Maybe it just wasn't glued on well enough. See, when I picked up the box, I heard some rattling and I was kind of worried that something broke off, and something did break off. So she just sits like that. Where does her stick go? Yeah, it actually just goes underneath. Like so. Oh, the cord's super short. So roughly around like 46 centimeters or so. That's my chest size in case you guys wanted to know. I need a pin. Okay, so he presses button on the bottom of it to release the button, it looks like. Oh, it's touch sensitive. Oh, that's very cool. Okay. The exclusive version comes with this, the button, and also the ring light. The original version does not come with the ring light background. It only comes with the sitting stand and her. That's all it comes with. Following Higenbana's release, we now have Aoandon from Onmyoji Honkaku Genso RPG from NetEase Games. NetEase Games is also a mobile gaming company, but they have now recently branched out into the figure world. This figure sits at 1/9 scale as opposed to Higenbana's 1/8 scale. The dimension of this figure is around 9.5 inches in height and length. The width of the figure is 6.5 inches. That includes her large ring base as well. The original cost of this figure was $109.12 Canadian. That's with shipping, but with duty and import taxes, my cost was $130.12 Canadian. Her release date was March 14, 2022. Alright, so let's move on to the sculpt and the paint. For this figure, it's a little bit different. It's sitting down, and it's kind of awkward to show you it up front, so I'm gonna just film it straight on ahead, and hopefully that will be the best way to show this one. So let's move down to the table. So right off the bat, I just want to mention that the way to display this properly is that you want to have this piece on an angle. That's because the angle itself is supposed to mimic a crescent moon, because if you just do it this way, it's not as nice, but if you have it on a slight angle, you get that crescent moon effect. So that's a really cool thing about this figure, and gives it a little character, you know? So this figure is sitting on a clear plastic base. I'm just gonna take her off for a second just to show you the base. So the base is this nice clear plastic piece. It does have this weird indent, which I'm not really sure what that's for, but it really reminds me of like the current noodlestopper toys that they have from Furyu. They're like more inexpensive figures that you can pick up. They're around like $30-ish to $40, and they're not as detailed, but they're meant to sit on your noodles and it keeps them warm while they're cooking. The quality is a lot lower than most figures, so they're a lot more inexpensive. This figure was half of the price, or more like 2 times less the price than the ones I picked up. Like Higenbana was like what, $300, $400, and this one is only about 100. Technically she was like 50, but the shipping brought it up to 100. I feel like it could have been a lot more inexpensive if it didn't have the ring, and it is $10 cheaper without the ring. The main issue we have with this figure, just like Higenbana, is we have this problem, the bow. I found out on Higenbana that the bow fell off after my review, so I feel like her score should change now, but this bow part here is actually just glued in. Right here and here is where you put the bow in. This is more what you would see like in a prize figure maybe, where it's just something so simple as this. If this is an issue for Higenbana and for her, then maybe it might be an issue for all of them. You can see that there's a little bit of scratch damage on the part where the bow goes, and that's definitely probably because of the rush job they did on this. For the most part, this figure does have like the nice pattern design on here. Her motif seems to be triangles and diamonds. You have these white triangles and the purple bow and the green teal-ish like bow here down here too. This side of her sash, and she has it up here too on her hairpiece, which is see-through. And again, this has that paint job where it's very simple. They kind of made more effort on the like large pieces are flailing in the wind than the rest of her body. Like there's no real shading on this figure. Like I can tell that this part here is a little bit darker. But other than that, like the rest of her body is pretty minimally shaded, so there's not much going on, especially the back of the hair. The sculpt work is okay, but you can see down here, like it looks a little unclean right there in that one spot. So that's the mark of a slightly lower grade figure. There is that weird kind of opening, right? It doesn't look as nice as, let's say, that opening there. And that causes this figure to lose a couple points in the sculpt work. This braid work here is pretty okay too. This is fine. The back, I guess you could call them like hair pieces, are pretty okay too. Like these hair pieces are okay. Look like they spent more time on these. She does have this really cool hair piece right here that's actually slightly clear or like opaque, and it's pretty nice. You can just see the detail on the hair. There's big bunches of, looks like pasta to me. The sleeves are definitely where the part shines the most because they have all these little interlocking pieces. So that looks really nice over here and as well as over here. The hands in their position, it does give you a little bit of eye visual candy because you have her arm back down here and this one right here, which is directing you toward looking at her chest because her chest is exposed, obviously. So that's like the fan service aspect of it. She looks like she's kind of like almost like she's pointing toward her chest. I did mention her name is Aoandon, which means blue lantern. So her color motif is supposed to be based on blue lanterns. Light down all the candles. After telling ghost stories, a lady will appear or something will appear. No one really knew what appeared until a guy, I forgot his name. Basically, he created this lady who shows up with a lantern. And Japan's yokai, like the ghosts of their past, they have a lot of traditional legends where the ghosts are actually based on just random objects. Like my favorite one is like the one that's named after the umbrella, the Kasai one, because like that one is hilarious. It's just an umbrella with an eyeball, and I think that's awesome. There's a lot of different yokai who are just based on general objects because they believed back then that like spirits inhabited everything. So like that's the whole purpose of this. And like she comes from a gang where they possess paper dolls that turn into these yokai figures. If you want to know more about that, you can actually watch the Higanbana video. I'm not going to go into full detail like this video. There's a whole bunch of designs for this figure. This is actually the base design. Just like Pokemon, they actually have evolutions. She actually has like a crap ton of evolutions, but this is her most well-known. There are ones that are really complex, but this one's pretty simplistic, but also elegant in its own way. It has a really cool look to it because of that like big ring. You got these big flailing pieces. You have the staff. The staff as well has this cool lantern on it. I kind of wish the lantern also lit up too, but having a battery that small would probably be annoying. You probably need one of those watch batteries to power it. Yuzuru back there, she has a lantern that she holds. That one had a little light that you actually flick on by twisting it, and that thing is a nightmare to work with. So maybe it's better that she didn't have the light, but having a light in here would be awesome to combine with that one. So this hasn't been charged all the way yet. I've only charged it for like, I don't know, a minute. You have her flower on the bottom and you have the little tassel. There is a piece of paint that is chipped off right there, so that will also lose points as well. The rest of it is okay, but that's the only one that's currently missing paint. The face got that nice teal eye. It's also a very basic look. I always find that the figures with this kind of face, their noses always seem to blend into their face. Like when you look from different angles, the noses almost look lost within the figure because there's no definition on the face. There's no extra shadow. So these figures that are cheaper usually tend to have nicer eyes and maybe lipstick like this one. So a lot of the features get lost in the figure. Like for instance, right here, her hairpiece, it's got a bunch of blobs, but the tassel is just barely detailed. So you can tell it's a tassel, but there's no other line work in it. So that also makes it look kind of dull too. It looks more like an artwork picture than it does like a full 3D model, let's say. Maybe that was their design choice, that they wanted to have these figures to look this certain way. Higanbana has the same issue. So I think for paint and sculpt, like they'll probably get a lower score in this one just because it's a little bit too plain. I think there could be some more things with it. Like, don't get me wrong, the design is really nice on this figure. The paint and the sculpt work could be a little bit better. Maybe add some texture here and there, a little bit detail of shadowing in this arm piece here. Anything to make it look more interesting, I think, would really bring up the value of this figure. And there goes the bow again. This part doesn't really sit in any certain way. Like, it just kind of goes underneath up to about here on the back of her. If you're wondering, for her, she does have underwear on, a white pair underneath. I'm kind of surprised they didn't go with a teal color to go with the rest of her outfit, but you know, this extra moon piece, it's a nice little gimmick, but I feel like they could have done something special with that, especially because it has these flowers on top. These flowers, they should have been on every piece of the ring. Like if it was one giant flower piece, that would be epic. Like that would be so special and it'd be so pretty looking, but they just did it on the top two, so it's really subtle. And with this figure, less is more, because at this moment it just stands like a ring light with some flowers on it that I could have did myself. An extra $10 for that is kind of stupid, you know, like, but here I am spending $10 extra on this figure, right? I'm gonna give the sculpt on this figure 8 out of 10. I think that's the right price for this figure, 8 out of 10. The paint work, I'm gonna give a 7 because the paint isn't as nice on this figure. Unless you're gonna be collecting all of them, it's not really a big deal to have this one. In fact, I'm kind of second guessing my purchase right now. It's kind of unique because it's sitting and it has that ring light. Let's go to our little fashion shoot. So Aoandon gets a final score of 76%. I do think it is warranted. This figure isn't anything special, but it does have some nice standout qualities about it. The headpiece, the colors are very vibrant, and the overall figure's appeal is pretty nice, but I do think there could have been a lot more effort placed into this figure, especially with the bow being like loose, and also the backside of the hair having that weird little unfinished sculpt line. I know it's a very small thing to nitpick, but like, again, these figures are starting to accumulate in price, so like it's getting more and more expensive collecting these, so getting really nitpicky is probably best, because I feel like if we keep letting model designers get away with these kind of things and making us pay for it, then we're just being fools ourselves. So you should be aware of things like that for your figures, because like you're paying a premium for these things and they should definitely have the effort placed into them. Now for this figure, I feel like they're testing a price point with this one because it's cheaper and it's also more safe in terms of the space it uses. Like it doesn't use a huge space like Higanbana does, it uses a very tiny space. And I feel like they're testing that price point to see if the fans would agree with it, considering that the last few models were actually like $400 to $300, and there's like what, like 8 now, so that's like $3,200 that you're spending on these figures. I think to reduce the cost is a good thing, but maybe bring it up a little bit from $50, because $50 for this figure, not bad, not really bad. I think that really does it for this review. I hope you enjoyed the review. If you want to see another review, Higanbana's one was a little bit more complicated, and talking about her was a lot more detailed, I would say. Hope you guys enjoyed this review. I will see you again in the next video. Thanks.